Hello, my name is Yusung Liu. Today we're checking out a subreddit called /r/DestructiveReaders where people post their writing online publicly and receive critiques publicly. We're gonna try and improve a stranger's piece of writing. Now, who am I to do this? Well, I graduated with an English degree from an Ivy League school. In short, I am a douche, okay? I've also worked as a writer's assistant in a lot of writers' rooms here in Los Angeles, and I wanna be clear about something, that my goal here is not to Gordon Ramsay it up. It is not to rip anyone apart or to be overly mean, but to honor their intentions and say what we like about it while trying to give meaningful improvements. And so with that, let's take a look at the subreddit and see what we can find. Okay, awesome. This is a story called Patty Cook. It was posted by Wolfhound101 3 days ago, and let's give it a read. All right, let's do this. Let's read some of this first and then talk about how we're feeling. So, Patty Cook. It's my second week of job hunting when I get a call from a tired-sounding recruitment officer for a fast food chain called Burger City, asking whether I'd be interested in working as a patty cook. Yes, I tell her, failing to hide my desperation. As a 16-year-old high school dropout who had never worked a day in their life, my prospects weren't great. Great. Our downtown store restaurant is always looking for people to work the grills, she says before proceeding to fill me in on the details. I was to start the following Monday. The shifts would run from 5 to 11 each night, and the pay would be $7 an hour. When you arrive, she says at the end, ask for Turn. He's the floor manager. Cool. Okay. So first off, congrats on finishing a short story. That's like impossible, right? That's amazing. First off, congrats. Second of all, there's some great stuff in here, right? You can tell like the protagonist is cool. Like as a 16-year-old high school dropout who had never worked a day in their life, like that's scrappy, right? Like what a great way to introduce an underdog that makes us want to like root for them inherently. Awesome, so cool. Also, this setting of like working at a fast food restaurant, great. Like we don't hear about that a lot, right? That's an interesting setting that I want to explore, and I want to hear what this character who's new to this environment has to say about it, right? So there's a lot of exciting things coming in right off the top. Some improvements, right? Okay, so this happens a lot. This happens a lot in my own writing. This happens a lot in a lot of writing that I see online. So if you were to look at this introduction, right, and you were to ask yourself, like, what's the most exciting part about the introduction? Because we want to start off really exciting, right? Like Tarantino films, first start off with an explosion and then they cut 6 months earlier. Like, let me explain to you how I got here, right? That could be wrong. I haven't seen a lot of films recently, but the point is, you want to start with something really, really exciting and then like tease apart the details, right? So I think, in my opinion, the most exciting part of this is this part. It's like I'm so desperate, right? The protagonist is a 16-year-old high school dropout. I can't hide my desperation. So what can we do about this? Well, we can just start with this. You know what I mean? Like I understand that this is vital information. However, what would we necessarily gain or lose by putting this paragraph first and this paragraph second? You know what I mean? Because again, I think this paragraph is a lot more exciting. So let's take a look at this in our other Google Doc. If we were to rework this, right? Let's just take the first paragraph. Let's give some paragraph breaks for ease of reading. Let's do an indent here. If we were to change, yes, I tell her, failing to hide my desperation. Ooh, right? What's going on here? Why am I so desperate? As a 16-year-old high school dropout who never worked a day in their life, my prospects weren't great. It was my second week of job hunting. And now you'd have to rework some of this, but it's my second week of job hunting, and now I'm on the phone with a tired-sounding recruitment officer for a fast food chain called Burger City, right? So just by shifting the order of that, bam, the more exciting part is at the top, and you're like, you're hooked, right? And then because I'm hooked, I'm like, I'll have all the patience in the world to sit through an explanation. And so I think reworking the introduction just like this, I think would add a lot to the excitement and to the start of this piece. Okay, let's read a little more. The next Monday, I arrived 15 minutes early for my first shift. When walking up to the restaurant, I'm awestruck by the sheer size and grandiosity of it. It is a true standalone restaurant with a soaring roof and eye-catching red and blue signage. Perched high above the building is a flashing neon sign that says Burger City, and surrounding it on all sides is a huge car park, capable of holding hundreds of vehicles. I take a deep breath and head for the main doors. When I enter, the first thing I see are a dozen or so pimply-faced teenagers like me, all wearing matching red and blue uniforms, busily mopping floors, wiping down benches, refilling straw containers, and sorting tills. As instructed, I go up to a girl at the counter and tell her I'm here to see Turin. She glances up for a second and without saying hi, turns her head and calls out to him, Turin! Immediately, she returns to counting coins in the till. I stand there awkwardly for a moment until finally a tall and slender man, emerges from the kitchen doors. He's wearing a middle management uniform, black trousers, a somewhat worn short-sleeved blue shirt, and a name badge. His hair is trim and face pudgy. When he sees me, he gazes down at his clipboard. You're the new patty chef, he asks with concern. Okay, there's some good stuff here, right? Nice setting, right? I can picture this super clearly. It's not like a McDonald's where it's like the same as all the other places. It's like unique about, right? It's like a more standalone restaurant. I can picture it very clearly. I grew up in a small upstate New York town. You know, there's these all over the place. And I also understand like the world you're trying to build, right? Like the first thing I see are a dozen or so pimply-faced teenagers like me. I'm like, damn, we've all been there, right? So I totally understand this, like the world. We're in high school, we're all struggling. Like none of these teenagers, and including the protagonist, has a lot of power here. Awesome, great to establish that. The manager, cool. He's wearing a generic middle management uniform. General, you know, it's not like he's a super cool character, and I like that you established that right off the bat. Let's get into some improvements, okay? He asks with concern is the place where I first want to start. So he asks with concern is like, great, I can tell what you're trying to do here. He's like, you don't look like a good patty chef, right? However, I think this is a great instance where like show don't tell could be applied. And I hate when people throw around show don't tell like it's some kind of blanket term, because asking with concern is like, you know, good enough. It's subtle enough, you know what I mean? But here's a way that we can maybe just add some more pizzazz to it. You're the new patty chef? He raises an eyebrow, or just like, it's slightly more subtle, or he eyes me up and down, you know what I mean? Because concern is an adjective, and if we can describe that with actions, and obviously you don't have to take any of this, but if we can describe that with actions instead, it gives it a little more character, you know? It gives us a little more like, oh, we know, like the reader, we get to make the connection of like, oh, this manager has no faith in us whatsoever. Again, we've all been there. Secondly, the tone. The tone is a little bit inconsistent, or not even inconsistent. It's like, I can't tell if you think the restaurant is this palace that's supposed to be good in the setting of the story, or like kind of ass, pardon my language. Like, you know, it's a standalone restaurant with a soaring roof and eye-catching blue and red signage. So it kind of sounds like the main character is in awe of it, when in reality, it's like pimple-faced teenagers. So I'm trying to, I got a tiny bit of whiplash by being like, are we supposed to think of Burger City as like a cool, like a castle almost, you know what I mean, in the function of this story? Or are we supposed to like look down at it? Like the protagonist may or may not be doing. I'm just not sure where the protagonist currently stands in this matter. So I think some clarity on that would be really helpful. Yes, I say, smiling and putting my hand out to shake. He ignores it, looks up at the clock on the wall and shakes his head. You're late, he then says. You should have been here at 4 for training. Sorry, the lady said, I reply, starting to explain, but he interrupts. I don't want to hear excuses. Now follow me, he says, and heads back into the kitchen. As I scuttle after him, great verb, I nearly step on the fingers of a boy on all fours, sopping grease off the floor near the base of a deep fryer. I try to apologize, but he barely registers. That's the fry cook, Turin explains after we've passed him. At Burger City, every worker has one role for which they're entirely responsible. By ensuring everyone always focuses on a single task, we maximize efficiency and output while allowing our employees to achieve their true potential. I nod. Awesome. Next, we pass a line of workers all busily chopping lettuce, cutting tomatoes, and slicing buns. Okay, cool. I want to stop here because there's some awesome stuff going on. One, it's really great because this is expository, but it doesn't feel expository. You know what I mean? I'm learning so much about the world, but it doesn't feel like I'm being explained anything, because in this situation, it makes sense, right? The protagonist is a new hire at this restaurant. The manager is explaining all this stuff. We're learning by proxy, the reader, all this stuff, and it's not boring at all. It's exciting. So, and I also love this, like, there's this general feeling of apathy, right? Like, girl at the counter, she's like, turn. And then she does not give a F about you, right? She immediately goes back. The guy, you almost killed him, okay? You almost stepped on the fingers. And he doesn't even care either. So everyone's kind of like soulless, right? Great, cool. Nice establishment of atmosphere here. Also, there's this great moment of humor, right? And I'm not sure like how you feel about this, but it's like, well, allowing our employees to achieve their true potential. Sir, this is a Wendy's, quite literally, right? Like, sir, this is a Wendy's. Like, true potential is such grandiose language to use in this context. It's really, really funny. And then you have this great break that's just I nod. So I think if you wanted to, this is my only suggestion for this little passage, is like, you can hammer the humor home here, right? While allowing our employees to achieve their true potential. Another flavor of this would be to like, I looked over and saw a motivational poster of an eagle flying over the Grand Canyon above a out of order ice cream machine or something along those lines, right? Like really hammer home that like maybe the manager thinks that they're doing the Lord's work. Maybe the manager is so freaking passionate about his job. I think if you wanted to, you have an opportunity to create a real weirdo right here, and that's funny and that's exciting. So I think if you wanted to, let yourself a little loose, give yourself a little freedom here. You could go wild with this manager and really hit home the humor, which you absolutely already do here. Let's keep going. This is the burger assembly line. Turn continues. At Burger City, there are two things we pride ourselves on most. The first is teamwork. We always work as a team. The second is producing consistently good burgers. I nod again. As we pass the assembly line, I tried catching a nod or smile from my new coworkers, but they all keep their heads down. Cool, mysterious. Finally, we get to the kitchen where a large steel grill is located. Above it hangs a wide LED screen. To the side, there's a box of frozen patties. And here he tells me is your workstation. And up there is the KDS. Anytime a new order comes through there, there'll be a beep and it'll show here. Now, this is how you cook them. And with that, Turn starts showing me what to do. First, he picks up a squeezy bottle full of oil and squirts it onto the hot grill. After that, he uses a pair of tongs to pry open a frozen patty out of the box and drops it onto the new, now steaming oil. Okay, I understand that I'm cutting you off in the middle of something, but I don't want to read too much without giving some feedback. So this is nice, right? I try catching a nod or smile from my new coworkers, but they all keep their heads down. What is going on here, right? I'm waiting. This is some lovely tension that's built. I'm like, why is everyone like a zombie working here, right? There's also another great opportunity for humor here. First is teamwork. We always work as a team. Second is producing good burgers. Third, just like make sure all the napkins are folded. Like you can undercut that, right, with something really, really silly. Like the first is teamwork. We always guarantee that the blah 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 blah. Second, make sure all the straws are perfectly bendy. Like you can undercut that with a thing that's really important and a thing that's really silly, or really silly or really important. Just play around with the order of that. There's a great opportunity there, right? Secondly, this is where my to give you some ideas for improvement. This is where my eyes are a little like I'm missing something here. You're losing me a little because I'm like, dude, I need to know more about the protagonist. Like there's so much happening here and it's losing me because I don't have anything to ground me. I need to know what the protagonist is thinking. There's some moments, right? Like if I was a teenager and like suddenly like there's a loud crackle of the oil on the grill, right? I'd be like, oh, I don't want to burn myself. I'd be maybe a little scared. I'm just so curious about what the protagonist wants and is thinking right now that it would be great to include that here. Not only that, like it's 2022. I have my attention span has been beaten down relentlessly over the years. I need to know what this protagonist ultimately wants. Like, I understand they want a job, but why do they want a job? Right now is a great opportunity to try to explain that. Like he starts explaining the patty thing. Maybe this protagonist is like, I watched my dad cook burgers on the grill since I was little. Of course, like it's different there, but I got the hang of it. And then their eyes start glazing over, and then they start thinking about their past or like their true intentions here. I think this is a great moment where I'm yearning for some kind of some private moment with the protagonist where we can just check in on them and see how they're feeling. You know what I mean? Wait 1 minute, he explains, until it starts sizzling. Then you flip it over so the other side can cook. Got it? I nod again and watch as he flips the brown side over so the pink side can cook. Gradually, it all turns brown. Once the patty is thoroughly cooked, you continue slide it into the metal tray, and one of the burger assemblers Uh, burger assemblers is hard to say. Will come collect it. I observe as he uses a large spatula to slide it onto a flat metal tray. Finally, he takes me to the very back of the store to a large walk-in freezer. He unlatches the door and props it open with a metal weight. Don't let the door shut behind you, he warns. The latch inside won't work. I nod and we enter the tiny icy room. It's stacked wall to wall with boxes of frozen patties. If there are no orders, you should be cleaning the grill or coming here to restock the patties. We don't stand around here doing nothing here. Understand? I nod. After that, he gets me a uniform and tells me to get changed. Okay, I understand, right? There's some awesome stuff. Chekhov's gun, move over. A B word, it's Chekhov's walk-in freezer. I love this because you're giving a great signal. I'm getting so excited. I'm like, someone's gonna get trapped and potentially die in this MFN freezer later on, right? Great, awesome. So there's a break here, right? There's a break here introducing a new section of the story. Awesome. I don't know if you watch a lot of shows on Netflix or like a lot of serialized shows where you're supposed to like watch one right after the other. The reason that it's so addictive and the reason that you want to watch the next show right after the show that you just watched is because they end on some kind of cliffhanger, right? And this is exciting, don't get me wrong. He gets me a uniform and tells me to get changed, sure. But I also think, and maybe this is a little too heavy-handed for you, bam. Just end it there. Don't let the door shut behind you, he warns. The latch inside doesn't work. That's it. And like, granted, if there are important details, you can just shift them earlier into the section. And like, he grabs a uniform from a shelf and hands it to me as we walk towards the walk-in freezer, right? Like, you can shift some of those details earlier so you can still keep them in the story if they're valuable. And then you can end it with this, like, the latch inside doesn't work. And I'm like, I'm terrified right now, right? It's a little heavy-handed, sure, but I feel like so far, like, the story's been, like, placid enough where we can get some, like, bam, blood in the water, right? We can start to get excited about what's to come. And also, if it is a horror thing or like a tension, like a thriller thing, like, we can start to get a feeling of the genre here, which I think is important in retrospect. Like, right now I don't exactly know what the genre is. Don't get me wrong, I'm here for the ride. It's good. I'm interested, but it'd be good to give us hints about that earlier on, I think. When the doors open at 6, I'm ready at the grill. Almost immediately, there's a beep and an order appears on the KDS. I check it with trepidation. 1 burger. I take a deep breath and start following Turn's instructions carefully. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt myself immediately, right? Cool. Nervous, right? There's a tension here to this scene. I check it with trepidation. How can we say this without using an adjective? Welcome. My name's Yi-Sung Liu. I hate adjectives. But honestly, like, how can we say this without adjectives? Because I think it might be more effective. I check it with trepidation. I use my apron to wipe the sweat off of my forehead, or I wipe my hands on my apron, or something along those lines. You know what I mean? I'm nervous. There's a lot of ways that you can express that this character's nervous without using an adjective, which I think would be more effective. But great tension. First, I grab the squeezy bottle and give it a squirt over the grill. Then, using the tongs, I pry out a patty, drop in the oil and wait. Once it starts sizzling, I flip it over and let the other side cook. Then, when it's entirely brown, I use the spatula and slide it onto a metal tray. Here's the thing. Awesome. There is a mechanical aspect to this, right? That I think you're touching on here. It's really, really repetitive, right? And that's, I think, a part of the setting that you're trying to establish. It's really important in the tone. It's like, oh my God, like, this is gonna be super mundane in the end, probably, right? But here's the thing. When it's written like this, I'm like, I don't know if you're being intentional about the repetition or not. So, a way to shorten this, because here's the thing. If you believe that your reader is intelligent, and if you're posting it onto Reddit, they're probably not. But if you believe in the intelligence of your reader, which I think you should, you can shorten this. Just italics, right? Inner monologue, squeezy bottle, period. Tongs, period. Frozen patty, period. One side brown, period. Other side brown, period. Almost instantly, one of the burger assemblers collects it. Bam, we're into it, right? And even then, you can repeat that little phrase again and again later, and it's more alive, you know what I mean? Than spending all this time to go over the details, which I understand. Like, if you want to hammer this home, you can do this, but I'm just a little worried because right now it's like losing me a little. I'm like, dude, I was paying attention when the manager was talking. I kind of know this along with the protagonist, right? So even just, I take a deep breath and start following Turn's instructions carefully. This is a little overkill, but you could even just cut the next paragraph. Almost instantly, one of the burger assemblers collects it, right? Giving you some options here. You can decide how you want to do it, or you probably won't watch this at all, but I'm just saying. Then I watch with marvel as it flies down the production line. In a matter of seconds, it's popped onto a bumped salad, a slice of cheese is added, sauce is squirted over it, and a pickle is put on top for its box and sent down a chute to the front. Cool. I can picture this so well. And I love the speed that the protagonist is hinting at here, right? Like, damn, it happens in seconds. It happens in seconds. So here's the thing. This needs to mean something. and it does mean something because it's like it's telling us how the burger is made, right? It's telling us how the sausage is made. But what I mean is like it needs to capital M mean something. So why does this matter that it's so fast? Like, again, here is where like I'm not sure where the goal of the story is headed towards. Like, I know the protagonist wants a job, but now they have a job. So what am I exactly looking for here? Is it now just like a cultural portrait of the restaurant? Am I just like focusing on the inner machinations of the restaurant? In that case, then this whole story should be centered around the restaurant, not the human, right? And you can almost like treat everyone anonymously almost. But I'm just like, what's important here? Because if it's the details in which a burger is cooked, I'm not saying that it's impossible for that to be interesting, but like I've not received any signals earlier on that's like, hey dude, watch out for this. This is gonna be like the centerpiece of the story, right? So how would I change this? If I was writing this, how would I do this? Then when it's entirely brown, it's almost instantly too much oil. I think in a matter of seconds, I see it completed with salad, a slice of cheese, and sauce. In a matter of seconds, it ends up perfectly in the mouth of a stranger who's like, who just picked his son up from karate class. Like, just like a little more flavor, a little more something, and like it just needs a little something. I also think that like you could cut both of these paragraphs. I know, dude. I know how heartbreaking this is, and you don't have to, because I would be like, if I wrote this, I'd be like, back up, dude. Watch where you're saying the lines, right? What do you mean cut these two paragraphs? But here's the thing. The most important part about this is what's about to come. Too much oil, a voice says behind me. It makes them soggy. Awesome, right? There's some tension there. There's some conflict. Like here, I'm not exactly what to watch out for. I'm not sure what you want to tell me, like what you're signaling, I'm not sure what you want to signal as significant in these two paragraphs. If you can catch my drift. I'm like, what is the writer trying to tell me here? I'm not exactly sure. Bam, too much oil. There's some tension here. The protagonist is struggling. Awesome, right? Awesome. So I vote get to this faster. We can abridge some of these two paragraphs and just ask yourself, like, what does the protagonist want? Like, make sure the reader has something to latch onto. Like, what are we focusing on, right? Now I know exactly what to focus on. It makes him soggy. Before I can say anything back, there's another beep. I look at the KDS and there's a new order for 2 burgers. I hover for a moment, suddenly nervous that Turin is watching. Come on, he says, what are you waiting for? Sorry, I say, and grab the squeezy bottle. I give it 2 squirts over the grill. I drop a patty each into a pool of steaming oil. Turin nods and walks off. After that, more orders start coming in, 1 to 2 at any one time. Maybe change the wording of this, but I love it, right? More and more burgers are coming. It's more and more tense. Let's go. I try my hardest to cook every patty exactly right because Turin, I quickly discover, likes to walk the floor and observe everything. Every time I make the smallest mistake, he seemingly appears out of nowhere and tells me off. It's like this omniscient eye watching over everything. Cool. There's a lot of great stuff here, right? We're learning a lot about the manager. Like, oh my God, he's like a hands-on manager. Also, he's kind of rude, right? Come on, what are you waiting for? I'm like, dude, it's my first day. Give me a break, right? So here's the thing. There's some awesome stuff here, and I get this, right? It's hard to It's easy to write a protagonist who's thrown into a world where they don't have any control, right? It's easy to be like, oh, I'm swept up into the carnival. I just gotta go where the ride takes me, right? The world is kind of affecting a lot of agency. However, it is more interesting when a protagonist has some amount of agency, when they can make some decisions, right? You don't want a passive protagonist where everything happens to the protagonist. You want a protagonist who does things, who creates, who tries their best, but also accidentally creates new problems, right? You want that kind of protagonist. So here's an opportunity where I'm like, I don't know, like obviously I don't know anything about like cooking burgers, okay? I'm a terrible cook. I've cooked burgers on the stovetop. It's gone terribly every single time. Maybe they could start doing something weird, like, I don't know, throwing 3 burgers and turns like that's 1 order too many. Ding, the KDS beeps on. There's that 3rd burger. I guess it's gonna come out faster now. Idiot. Like something along those lines. And also, like, give me some teeth, you know what I mean? This is a scrappy protagonist, right? High school dropout, first day on the job. Give me some attitude, right? The protagonist hates this manager, right? He's getting on my ass. Give me some of that, you know what I mean? Turin likes to twiddle his thumbs and do the crossword or something. Like, what? Like, I want to see some attitude from this protagonist. I want to see what they think, you know what I mean? Like, give him some voice, because you've established a great character. These circumstances are like delicious, right? There's so much room to work with here. Everyone relates to this feeling of like an overbearing manager. And here's the thing, ironically, or you know, for better or for worse, Turin, the manager, I have a much more complete picture of what they're like. They're an overbearing manager, has no faith in any of their employees, right? And is like just kind of like on everyone's ass all the time. Who's the protagonist? What are they like? How do they respond in situations like this? I understand that in real life you'd probably be quiet, but this is fiction. Give them a little sass, you know what I mean? And if that Turin like is like, hey, don't use that tone with me. Good, right? We get some more tension in there. We get some more excitement. Anyway, I love where this is going. I just wish there was more of it. At 7, we get slammed. Scores of families, couples, and truckers come streaming, through the doors, and soon I'm frantically throwing patties under the grill just to keep up with all the orders. Turin, meanwhile, doesn't let up. Anytime he passes, he has a go at me for something. I'm moving too slow, the metal trays are too dirty, there's too much grease building up on the grill. At one point, my squeezy bottle runs out of oil, and he tells me off for not foreseeing the problem. Despite the constant criticism, I try my best to take it in good stead, reminding myself that I'm still new and I should improve when I know the job properly. Here's the thing. Me, right now, I can tell you as the writer, you're a good person, right? Like, you like to do a good job and keep your head down and do it right. However, I want this guy, I want this protagonist, who I don't think we know the gender of. Totally fine. I'm cool with that, actually. Because I don't think it's important at this point. Or it could be, I don't know. It depends on your intention, right? The protagonist is too perfect here. I gotta see some flaws, right? I want to see them like they dropped out of high school. Now, this might be an unfair leap, but at this point, I don't really know a lot about them. So they could be like, I want to quit. At one point, like, there's some orders coming in. I'm like frozen. I'm like, I don't need to do this. I could, like, what are my prospects as a data entry person? What are my prospects as a, like, start considering other jobs? Like, I could quit right now. It'd be so good to throw this apron in Turin's face, right? Like, obviously that's not a great person. You don't want someone quitting on their first day, right? However, like, as a protagonist, even if they're a little flawed, I want to see some personality. That gets me invested in the story more. Or so just something relatable, right? Like, there's so much detail in here that I'm like, if you're writing from personal experience, hell yeah, I can tell. If you're not, great imagination. Holy moly, this has such great detail that it's incredibly vivid. I want to see what you thought during this time. Like, is it just fear? Then hammer on in the fear, right? I burn myself on the grill. I drop a patty on the floor. Just something, and I start swearing, and a family out in the dining room hears me, and I have to say sorry. Like, I just want some more personality to come from this protagonist, because I believe in them. I believe that they do have a personality. We just need to see it. Cool. Also, still, don't know what we're supposed to be looking for, right? What does the protagonist want? Right now, all they want is to do a good job at their job. Nope. Need something more sinister. Are they paying back the cartel? Like, are they paying for so that their mom, like mom's hospital bills? I'm not sure, but those stakes, right? Like, they want to pay for their sister to be able to afford snacks at the after school when they go hang out with their friends, right? If you give us those stakes up top, I will be like, oh my God, this sucks, and I understand why this protagonist needs to stay in it. You know what I mean? I suddenly understand. I'm like, you gotta get through this, and I understand that it's difficult, right? But we know what to look for. It's like this. Then the story becomes about like survival. Right now, I'm still not sure what this is all for. You know what I mean? At around 9, the rush slows, and I finally have a moment with no order to take a step back from the grill to get some reprieve from the searing heat. By this point, I'm hot and exhausted. My clothes are drenched in sweat and oil. And I badly need to wee. This is awesome. This is a great moment because this is where like you're both shining as a writer and shooting yourself in the foot at the same time. I love this. By this point, I'm hot and exhausted. What do we have here? 2 adjectives. What's the next sentence? My clothes are drenched in sweat and oil. Awesome. By this point, I'm hot and exhausted. I take a step back from the grill to get some reprieve from the searing heat. My clothes are drenched in sweat and oil. Awesome, right? This sentence says all that you wanted to say with I'm hot and exhausted, indirectly and beautifully. I barely need to wee. Great. Tonally, I might change this because this is a moment of like humor, right? Just be like, my bladder has never been. No, I don't know. I think that the joke here could be improved just a little. Like, I can't remember the last time my bladder felt this full. I would kill another human being, not really, in Minecraft to go to the bathroom right now. I would just like, and I badly need to wee. Funny, make this a little bit more extreme, and we'll laugh with you harder. That's my extremely terrible joke pitches towards you. I glance towards the front and check there are no customers. I have a quick look around for Turn and spot him telling up the fry cook. Then figuring I have a good minute before he rounds back this way, I rush to the bathroom. Unfortunately, I miscalculate because when I return, Turn is at the grill waiting for me. Where were you? He interrogates. We have a customer waiting. Okay. Unfortunately, I miscalculate because when I return, Turn is waiting at the grill for me. Great moment of tension, right? Don't need the unfortunately I miscalculate. Why? Because just when I return with the calmest bladder in the world, Turn is at the grill waiting for me. Where were you? He interrogates. You have a customer waiting. God damn it. Like just in italics or something. You know, unfortunately I miscalculate is good. It's good. It paints a very, very clear picture of what's going on. However, if you believe in the intelligence of your reader, we'll know this because when they return, Turn is at the grill, tapping his foot. You know what I mean? I look towards the front and notice a lone truck driver standing there. On the KDS, there's an order for a single burger. I just needed to. I start explaining, but he raises his hand in a stop gesture. What did I tell you about excuses? And then he then says, I apologize and return to the grill. After that, the orders keep coming until 11 when the doors finally shut. I head home, collapse into the bed exhausted, but I can't sleep. All I can hear is the KDS beeping. Yo! Great line, right? What does this say? All I can hear is the KDS beeping. 1, no adjectives. 2, it's like, I just want some peace and quiet from this job, and it is still in my head. I cannot get it out of my head. It is invasive to the point where it's impacted my home life, right? I can't go to bed. This is an incredible sentence. This is my favorite sentence that you've written. It's so good. In a sea of really good sentences, right? This is awesome. There's some moments in here with Turn where I'm like, what's going on here? I just needed to. I started explaining, but he raises his hand in a stop gesture. This is the most condescending thing that's ever happened. Now, your protagonist can still be perfect, but I would love it if they interjected in this moment with some, like, you know, train of thought or whatever. Just like, for a moment, I thought about frying up a hot burger and throwing it at his hand, giving him 3rd-degree burns or something along those lines, right? Just give me a little more attitude, because he's being a dick right now, and I want to see what the protagonist thinks, right? Because we're supposed to relate to the protagonist the most, and there's some distance right now because I'm like, right now I know the protagonist is a high school dropout, got a burger thing, they're tired, and they don't really like their manager, but I don't even really know that. They seem to be kind of like okay with it. Like they just want to do a good job. That's fine, right? These are all qualities of a good human being. I need something more. I need something more. Let's obviously we care a lot about this protagonist, right? Because we also feel bad for them that they can't get any peace and quiet. I still want them to be flawed. That's what makes exciting fiction, right? And don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of signals here that like, damn, the protagonist is a good person. I love reading about fuck ups. You know what I mean? I don't really want to read the autobiography of the Pope. You know what I mean? Oh, cool. Congrats and all that, or whatever. But I want to read about like people that accidentally get into bad situations. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. The following day, I arrive half an hour early, hoping it'll show Turn I'm reliable. When I enter, Turn is standing at the front counter, filling something out. I say hi, but he only grunts. Undeterred, I dive into my prep work. Get the grills, squeezy bottles. I clean my stack of trays so they're shiny. I scrub all the counters. Nice, right? They're showing some mastery here. I track down some spare squeezy bottles and fill them with oil. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. While I'm doing this, Turn, whose location I can't help but keep tabs on, occasionally walks past without saying anything. I start to think that my efforts are paying off. Perhaps he's deciding I'm trustworthy. However, I couldn't be more wrong because as soon as the doors open, he's on to me like a hyena. Great, great. First use of simile here. Awesome. All of a sudden, everything I do is wrong. Every patty I cook is somehow flawed, too hot, too cold, too mushy, too oily, too dry, or too crackly. On one occasion, some oil drips onto the floor and he tells me off for having a dirty workstation. Another time, I accidentally drop the spatula and he chastises me for being clumsy. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I want to happen. I want you to kill Turn in the walk-in freezer, period. I want this protagonist to snap and kill Turn. Great, right? However, if that eventually happens, we need to see bubbles of anger foreshadowed in the past. Just something to give us a sign that this narrator is a little bit off. Because right now, if it happens that he kills Turn in the walk-in freezer, and I swear to you, I've not read the ending to this, it's gonna come a little too sudden, right? Okay, let's read a little bit faster here because again, I didn't expect this video to be so long. Halfway about the shift when I get through a nice surprise. Turn needs to go and it announces he'll be gone for an hour. Cool. Everything becomes more chilled. A couple of the counter girls start laughing and talking. Burger guy has a phone and is texting. I start to relax too. I've run out of frozen patties and need to restock. Head back to the store. Again, a lot of great actions from the protagonist, right? But I want to know what they're feeling. That's more interesting than the action of running to the back of the store, right? I've forgotten to prop the door. I try the safety latch, but when it doesn't work, I can't help but panic. I kick and bang on the door, scour the tiny space, but it's no use. No one hears me. Then I remember that tiny spaces of air like this have limited oxygen. I sit down on a box of patties and breathe slowly to conserve the air. What feels like an eternity passes before I finally hear the door handle getting pushed down. Then to my terror, it's Turn who opens the door. For a moment, he just glares at me without saying a word. Kamani finally says and turns back towards the kitchen. I want to explain my mistake. There are huge delays. There's a queue of people. There's people lining. That's enough, Ryan. Call me, tells the fry cook. We found him. You can return to your station. Cold and embarrassed, I return to my post. I bite down on my tongue hard. Try harder. Be disciplined. Be better. Over the following nights, I grow more disciplined. This is interesting, right? Because I wanted Turn to die, right? And that's just me being a cute little anarchist. Be careful, right? Because you have a great story. But right now, the character whose growth I've seen the most is Turn's, right? Instead of yelling, he's calm and measured. The protagonist doesn't really change. You're like, he grows more and more disciplined. Yeah, he's been disciplined, okay? We know that, right? Turn is the only one that's changed so far, so I'd be a little bit careful about that as you're writing the story, because right now the story is about Turn, and I don't think that's what your intention is. To avoid mistakes, I group the patties according to orders. Nice. Okay, cool. They're getting better. Arrive at my grill to see Turn standing there. Every burger will have not one but 2 patties. I don't want you to worry about restocking. I will do that. Your first and only priority is the grill. Okay, they're working together as a team. Cool. 100 patties per box is literally thousands. Okay. Everyone comes out consistently good. Okay. My arms start to move automatically. Cool. Cut those buns quicker. At first, I flinch whenever He yells until I notice something. None of them are directed at me. Okay, trance like state. Cool. I've lost track of time altogether when a loud thunking sound. I put down my spatula. Okay, when I turn back, the entire local football team is barging through the front doors, cheering and reveling about Double Patty Friday. And then, realizing there's no time to waste, I rush back to the grill. Is this a... this is a short story. There's so much potential here, dude. And I understand. I apologize. That comment is a little condescending. But there's some awesome stuff here. There's this great theme, right, about becoming a robot. That's really, really interesting. Losing your sense of identity, right, in this machine. Maybe they wouldn't it be unsettling if they went home and then they brush their teeth, but they accidentally start like holding the toothbrush like a spatula, right, and doing those motions involuntarily, right? That'd be super interesting. The theme then, the message would be like, man, this job like makes you so much like a robot that it like infects you, right? You can't help but hear the KDS when you're trying to sleep. It infects you into your personal life. Great message at the end, right? There's some change there for the protagonist, right? They started off as like a normal kid. At the end, they're like an autonomous, soulless robot, right? There's some change there. Right now, it just kind of seems like they've gotten better at their job, but like them getting better at their job, I need more than that from a story. Like obviously no one needs to die, but like Flannery O'Connor, a good man is hard to find. Everyone ends up like at the start there's like, oh, did you hear there's like a serial killer on the loose? And then like the whole time the grandma is like this moral high groundy person. And at the end they find the serial killer. It's terrifying. There's so much tension. Everyone dies. Point is, there's a change. Things happen. That action of like they find a serial killer is what you're competing with every single story that you write, right? So if the main thing that happens in the story is they get better at their job, we're gonna need more than that. We're gonna need more than that. And here's the thing, there's a lot of potential here. There's the humor, right? There's some awesome humor. Turin thinks he's Jeff Bezos, right? He thinks he's Steve fucking Jobs, right? Well, we run the tightest ship of all time here. He thinks he's Michael Scott, right? You could harp on that a little bit more. Lean into the humor. There's some great like loss of autonomy here. Everyone's soulless. Everyone's soulless in this environment. Let's explore that, right? The destruction of human identity. Just like try to nail down what that really means, or if that's something that you're trying to say, right? There's the protagonist, right? Really scrappy, right? High school dropout. Again, I'm gonna need some more attitude from this person. I'm gonna need maybe like even a change could be. He starts yelling at Turin, right? The whole time they're butting heads constantly, like giving each other sass. Turin is like, I can't fire you. Everyone else sucks. No one wants to do this job. My life is miserable. I can't fire you. I'm just gonna yell at you. And then the protagonist is like, who the F are you to yell at me? I dropped out of high school. I can leave here right now if you want. Like, make my day, right? They're yelling at each other, and suddenly at the end, they have to work together, right? They're learning a little bit more about human compassion, and then they like shake hands, or Turin fills up a squeezy bottle. That's also an interesting thing that can happen, right? Point is, you got a lot of great themes. You got a lot of great themes that you started, and I trust you, right? Because like you have some great lines like that. I can't stop hearing the KDS beeping, or like the apron, right, is covered with sweat and stuff after the first busy night, right? Like there's so much great stuff, and I trust you to be able to tackle some of these themes, right? Point is, great story. I love the setting. I've already said a lot of the things that I liked about it, a lot of my gentle suggestions. Of course, you don't have to take. Again, just a guy. But yeah, okay. Everyone else, if you enjoyed watching this, give it a like and subscribe. Please tell me what you liked about this. If you have any writing that you'd like to recommend, if you have any suggestions, of course, this is like a new series, a new silly little video that I'm trying out. So let me know if you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitch, streaming 3 or 4 times a week. So I hope to see you there. Thanks so much for joining. Wolfhound, again, congrats on finishing a piece of fiction and for writing a good one at that. And I'll see you next time. Okay, peace.